In an old house inherited from my grandparents, a child's laughter breaks the midnight silence. What starts as a distant echo transforms into an increasingly closer presence. The stories about the boy who lived here in the 40s take on new meaning when I find an old photograph that reveals a disturbing truth about the mansion and its little resident.
You're entering Universe Paranormal, where the unknown comes to life.
I'll never forget that winter night when I first heard a child's laughter in my house. I live alone in an old residence on the outskirts of town, inherited from my grandparents after they passed away. The place always had a melancholic air, but I had never felt uneasy until that early morning. It all started while I was reviewing some documents in my study, when the clock was approaching midnight. The laughter rang clear and crystalline, as if coming from the upstairs hallway. At first I thought it was my imagination, but then it repeated, this time closer. I got up from my desk and went into the hallway, the wood creaking under my feet as I moved toward the stairs. The house was completely silent, only interrupted by the ticking of the old pendulum clock. The temperature suddenly dropped, and I could see my breath forming small clouds in the air. I climbed the steps slowly, my heart pounding as I lit the way with my phone's flashlight. The laughter echoed again, now from one of the empty rooms. I stopped in front of the closed door, hesitating whether to open it. At that moment, I remember the stories my grandmother used to tell about the house, especially about the boy who supposedly lived here in the 40s. My hand trembled as I turned the doorknob. The room was dark, but moonlight streamed through the window, casting unsettling shadows on the walls. The air was heavy with a sickly sweet smell, like stale candy. I took a step inside, and the door slammed shut behind me. The childish laughter filled the room, but this time it sounded different, deeper, almost evil. I turned toward the corner where the sound came from and saw him. A boy of about 8, dressed in old-fashioned clothes, was sitting on the floor playing with something. When he looked up, his eyes were completely black, and his smile stretched impossibly across his face. I tried to open the door, but it was stuck. The boy stood up and began walking toward me, his laughter turning into a guttural sound that froze my blood. The walls seemed to pulsate, and the shadows came alive around him. I shut my eyes tightly, praying it was all a nightmare. When I opened them, I was alone in the room, but something had changed. On the floor, where the boy had been sitting, I found an old sepia photograph. The image showed a family posing in front of the house, and among them, the same boy I had just seen. On the back was an inscription, Thompson family, 1943, in memory of Michael, who left us too soon. Since that night, the laughter is heard regularly in the house, always at midnight. I've researched the history and discovered that Michael, the boy in the photo, died in an accident in the house. According to records, he was playing alone in that same room when it happened. Most disturbing is that old neighbors claim his laughter could be heard for days after his death. Now, each night I prepare for the inevitable. The laughter begins punctually when the clock strikes 12, and sometimes when I look out of the corner of my eye, I can see a small figure watching me from the shadows, always smiling, always waiting. The worst part isn't the fear of what he might do, but the certainty that one night, when his laughter sounds closer than ever, I'll discover why he's been waiting all this time.